so that I have even pressure on the squeegee. And the squeegee technique has three parts to it. One is the angle of the squeegee to the screen. That's very important. And when you first get set up, you should practice on some scrap t-shirts and practice printing with different angles. You're going to find low angle deflects more ink down. A high angle has more of a transverse force, it's less ink down. So you're going to want to find the happy point where you get the amount of ink down that you want. It's probably 40 to 45 degree angle between the blade and the screen. That's the first part of the technique. The second is pressure. How much pressure? Now when we set up, we put a piece of plexiglass on here 1/8 of an inch thick. We make sure the screen is touching the plexiglass and the color arm here is touching the off contact bolt, so that when we remove that plexiglass and bring the screen down, the color arm is going to be resting on the off contact bolt. The screen will not be touching the platen, but it will be parallel to the platen. And the reason we use 1/8 is a t-shirt is typically 3/32 of an inch thick. So that gives us a true off contact of 1/32. Now when you go to press down, you're only going to close that slight distance. We have nice tight screens, so there's no stress on our wrists or elbows. You don't have the carpal tunnel issues. One thing we also like to do here in our printing, we put a shim on the neck of the platen, also 1/8 of an inch. So when we bring the screen down, the screen at this end is resting on the shim, because when you press down, believe it or not, these frames, as substantial as they are, can bow down. I do not want the frame bowing, I only want the mesh deflecting. And that's what will happen. We'll get a sharper, cleaner print, a little more ink down, better opacity. It's a little trick. And when you're talking to a salesman, if he's a young kid and he's never really printed, he's not going to tell you tricks like that. So it comes with experience that you find these things out. So we got the angle, we got the pressure, and the third variable is speed. If you pull a squeegee real fast, then the force is transverse, less ink. If you pull the squeegee slower, then it's more ink. So the way and most people go too fast. So the way we train people, don't pull your arms back, not initially. Set your angle, set your pressure, and then step back. And if you step back, your body will go more slowly than your arms, and you'll get that feel. It won't take you very long to figure out how fast that squeegee should be moving. Now this particular press has spring tension control here, which allows us to use different size screens. And this is a little bit tight right now, but it's set up for a little bit bigger screen with ink, or screen with ink and heavier squeegee, like maybe aluminum, which is heavier than wood. But in any event, that's how you print. And then when you go to remove the shirt, cross your arm, peel the shirt off the platen, and then just straighten your arms out. You're going to need an adhesive on this platen, and here are your choices. Most people in the industry use spray. Spray causes cancer. Don't do it, because you're inhaling it, and adhesive in your lungs is not a good idea. Not only that, it gets all over, and if this is in your house, you're going to be a very unpopular person when everybody's walking across the floor and their feet go snap, snap, and the adhesive is on the walls, it's on the ceiling, it's on everything. It's disgusting. So spray adhesive, don't do it, even though it's the most common practice in the industry. And again, if a salesman's pushing spray adhesive at you, you have to wonder about the salesman. There's some options. You can buy a paper tape and that covers the platen, and then coat it with liquid. Well, it takes a little while for that to dry, so you can't print. And then they're good for 35 to 50 prints. You got to peel the paper off, throw it away. It's an expense, and start all over again. That's kind of a drag. We don't like liquids, and I don't recommend them. Okay. The third option is what we call double tape, and double tape is a thin plastic sheet with paper on both sides. Peel off the paper, stick it down, peel off the other piece of paper. Now I have a sticky platen, and it's good for 12 to 1400 prints, and it's cheap. This stuff is really cheap, and that's the answer. And it will help you on your printing, because let's say you're only doing a small print. You don't cover the whole platen. You only put a piece down in the imager, so there's no adhesive on the rest of the platen. That makes loading shirts easier and removing shirts quicker, so you're going to print faster. So you don't really want adhesive on the whole platen. You only want it where you're trying to keep the shirt from moving while you're printing. So double tape is the ticket, and what'll happen is when you print and you've got shirts on this, the double tape or any kind of adhesive will pick up the lint from the shirt. So with double tape, when you find it's not working so well, you just spray it with water, like spraying flowers. Put your hand on the platen, go around a circular motion, lint rolls up in little balls, dust it off in the waste can. There's nothing in the atmosphere, and continue to print. And if you find that it's not sticky anymore, like you went to dinner and came back, or you came back the next day and it's not sticky anymore, run your flash dryer over it. It'll bring the adhesive right back. So that's the best solution for adhesives, to keep the garment from moving around. So that's what you need to know about adhesives. Now you're going to see some shirts we or some of our customers printed, so you can see what the possibilities are when you have the right equipment. This is a company shirt. It's a golf shirt. It's a textured material, and you can see how nice and sharp and clean all of the detail is. If you use traditional methods, traditional ink, the ink would follow the texture of the shirt, and you would have sawtooth edges. You would not have a real clean image like this. But this was printed using capillary film and three-dimensional ink. And of course, it was set up as you saw in this video. This shirt could be printed on a one-color press. And of course, a shirt like this costs maybe $8 or $10, and you should sell it for at least $35. So this is high-margin business. So that's a three-dimensional print. This shirt was printed by one of our customers in California under our direction, and you can see how sharp and clean it is. The customer was going to do embroidery, but with embroidery we'd never get that kind of resolution. And you can see even the TM, the trademark, is sharp and clean. That would be real tough to do with embroidery. Paramount Pictures is an image company. They don't want embroidery. They want really high quality. This is three-dimensional ink, one screen, printed on a one-color press with three-dimensional ink using capillary film. Another customer printed this three-dimensional image, and you can see that there are several colors there. And if you look carefully at the mousse, you'll see the mousse was printed in several layers, so it stands off the shirt. It's really an outstanding print, and when customers see this, they're going to open their eyes. It's going to snap heads. You get big money for prints like this. What's the value of the ink on the shirt? Maybe 10 cents, 15 cents, but you're selling this shirt for $55, and the shirt costs you 8 or 10. It's big margin business. This is the kind of work you want to do, but you're not going to be able to print these kind of images if the platen flexes, the screen moves on you, because you've got one of those stretch and glue screens. You've got to set up with a uniform off contact distance. You have to have control through the whole printing process, and these images show that kind of control. The customer in California who we taught how to print the Paramount went on to print a number of other images. This particular one that customer printed is a 6-color, and it was printed first with 200 microns of capillary film and three-dimensional ink, which is the entire image that you're seeing. That's flash cured. And then the second screen was a high mesh count, like a 230 or 305, to print a half-tone dots. And you can see in the middle it's kind of reddish in the background. That's what that is. You do not have to flash that. Third screen is the top and the bottom border are raised. Another 200 microns. That has to be flash cured. And then on those borders you've got the red dots. That has to be printed with a high mesh count, and then those thin black lines also with a high mesh count. Now you've used 5 screens, and the last screen down is Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, 400 microns of black three-dimensional ink. You got to be on a Newman frame. You got to be using capillary film. But when you're all done, you've got resolution like you would never get with embroidery, and it's soft and flexible. So when you're wearing this shirt, it's not like you got a mosquito bite that won't go away. You won't feel this image because the ink is outside the shirt, as opposed to embroidery where the threads go through the shirt and scratch your chest. This is a far superior image and will draw a big price. Somebody's going to say, where are the t-shirts? This is a t-shirt that we did.